Hey everybody, this is Brett Lewis from L4 Group, and today I have with us Steve Ohl from RF.
Yeah,
Steve, can you hear me okay?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, good, good. Hopefully, we're having a little bit of a lag with Google Hangouts. Hopefully, this doesn't prohibit us from having this interview today. Uh, so let me get started. The topic is propane safety, and I read this from the National Fire Protection Association. So let me grab this quote. Let me see here. Here it is. The leading equipment involving in LP gas home structure fires was a grill, hibachi, or barbecue. That was published in August of 2012. And what they're getting at here is the U.S. fire departments responded to an estimated annual average of 1,170 home structure fires involving LP gas in a time span, a 4-year time span of 2003 to 2007. And these fires resulted in 34 civilian deaths, 135 civilian injuries, and 48 million in direct property damage. So, with that quote and a couple other things that I saw online, I thought it would be appropriate to discuss propane safety. And I asked Steve to talk to us about that because he does deal in propane. So, Steve, first off, why don't you give everybody an introduction as to what your background is and what RFOL does?
Sure. We're in the we're in business 30 years this year, and we are a heating oil and propane delivery company. We also have a full service HVAC, air conditioning, heat pump, propane installation department, and we service and install complete HVAC systems. We do repairs. We have service plans. We also have a hearth and patio showroom where we uh, sell and service propane and natural gas fireplaces, space heaters, and we sell retractable awnings, barbecue grills, patio furniture, all kinds of outdoor products. So, we have a really good handle on propane products and propane safety since we've been doing it for a long time. So that's we kind of live and breathe propane over there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So with the stats that I read through from the Fire Association, um, can you touch on just some general propane safety tips and some things that people should be aware of when dealing with propane?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing is to know the product that you have. Make sure you follow the instructions and you do it safely. Usually, that's where a lot of these statistics, I'm sure, can be pointed to. Not specifically following the directions and doing things that are outside of the scope of the product. So, when it comes to using any propane appliance, make sure you follow the directions. If it needs to be serviced or you need to have installation work done, hire a professional. That's the best advice I can give on propane safety.
That's good. I mean, it's gas. I mean, and I don't think too many people would be wanting to mess around with their natural gas, installations of appliances in their house, and same thing goes for propane.
Yeah, you have to respect it just like you wouldn't go up to a gasoline pump and start pumping a cigarette in your mouth. You should respect propane and natural gas the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a question regarding refilling a propane tank. A while ago, I took an old tank to go get refilled, and the filling station looked at it and said they couldn't refill that tank, and they mentioned something about the valve that was on the top of the tank and it being out of date. Can you talk a little bit about what that's all about?
Yeah, it's on barbecue grill style tanks and some of the smaller tanks that you go camping with. it's called an OPD valve, and that's basically an overfill protection device. And that was, I believe, back in April of 2002. That was a requirement on refilling cylinders when they had to be requalified, which every 5 years they need to be requalified. And so that was a big, a big thing. It's odd that you had a tank yet that long, but we still find them once in a while. People come into our propane filling station and maybe they had that tank sitting around, or a friend or relative gave it to them that no longer has a grill or went camping. But yeah, you can use the propane out of the tank, and but once the tank is empty, you're not going to be able to have it refilled without either putting a new valve in it or replacing the tank. And most times it's better off to just replace the tank, because chances are that the cost of replacing the valve and the age of the tank and recertifying it, you're better off to probably buy a new tank at that point.
Yeah, exactly, and that's exactly what the deal was. It was an old tank that I had. I used it for space heaters when I was out on some construction jobs in the wintertime and having to dry out houses with the drywall and spackle and stuff. So it was an old tank that was sitting around. It hasn't been used for many years. And then I had a need for it probably about 3 years ago, and I went to go get it filled up, and the guy was like, "No, you can't do that." So, and that's exactly what I did. I ended up getting a brand new tank.
Yeah,
so,
usually the scenario.
yeah, yeah. And so, what about the lifespan of tanks? How long are they usually good for? Aside from the valve, what are other issues?
I mean, we've seen tanks out there from the 30s and the 40s that still looked good. At that age, I wouldn't recommend using them, but they're still out there, and as long as they can be recertified and requalified safely, a propane tank, it's as long as you take care of it, it's going to last a long, long time. I mean, on an average portable tank, you're probably talking 20, 30 years, because they're going to get a little more stress and damage from maybe putting them in your vehicle to transport them, or they're outside getting rusted. So you want to look at that, and really for the price of a propane cylinder, which is for a barbecue tank usually under $40, if it gets to be 20, 30 years old, it's probably time to replace it, and just ask the cylinder refiller to basically recycle it for you. We do that for our customers when they come in and they no longer want the tank. We'll take it out of service, and we'll make sure it gets to the proper place to be recycled. Most propane filling stations and propane companies will take your old propane tanks, and usually there's no charge for it. If there is, it's usually a nominal fee, but I know we do that for our customers.
Right.
Now, home tank should last you, probably 40, 50 years, because that propane company is going to be maintaining it and taking care of it. So the tanks that sit at your home are a little bit different. They're constructed a little bit different, and many of them have different certifications on them, which I won't get into to just confuse everybody. But home tank's a little bit different. So yeah, they'll usually last longer than a portable tank, because the portable tank's getting basically beat up during transportation and sitting at a home. Just because it is a smaller tank, people can tend to move it and bang things against it. So
Sure. And that's just for clarification, when you say home tank, that's the big tanks that are permanently installed at the house, which serve to provide propane for cooking and heating instances, correct?
Yeah, it could be a home or a business. It'll be typically they're 100 gallons or larger, and you could see multiple tanks there, or you'll see one big tank. But yeah, those tanks are typically put in place, and they're not usually moved, other than when they need to be repainted, or if there's service needs to be done on the tanks.
Right, exactly. And and if they do need to be moved, again, probably best to call a professional to disconnect them, move them, and reconnect them.
Oh, definitely, yes. If the propane company that you have servicing the tanks owns the tanks, then you definitely want to call them. Even if you own your own home propane tanks, call the propane company that's been servicing them. They should be able to come out, move the tanks for you. We have customers that get their houses re-sided. Maybe they put in a new air conditioning system, and due to certain code restrictions, the propane tank can't be in that place anymore. So we'll go out, move the tanks, set them to the side. The work is complete, and put the tanks back in the proper location. So and then we'll do a leak test in the system and make sure everything's functioning properly. You always want to have a professional handling the propane tanks.
Yeah, yeah, that just makes sense. So back to the portable tanks. What's your recommendation as far as transporting them? Like, you have a tank for your grill, you run out, you have to go get it refilled. What would you advise people as far as getting that tank back and forth from the filling station?
You always want to transport the propane tank in an upright position. Um, Make sure it's secured somehow. You never want to leave it in a hot car. If you're not, it's not something you would take to the store after you have the tank, filled, or even the tank is empty. There's still vapors in the tank, so you wouldn't want to store that in your car for hours. I mean, you could always go to the filling station, drop it off, go do your shopping, come back and pick it up. I mean, we have many customers that do that. They stop at our location first, and they'll say, "Hey, can I come back in a couple hours?" And it's no problem. We'll let the tank sit there safely and securely in our fenced-in area, and then when the customer comes back, they just pick the propane tank up and head home. Definitely not something you want to ride around with, just because of the heat. Like, they always say about animals in a car, and they quote the temperatures. It can quickly get up over 140 degrees inside of a car, so you don't want to have more pressure building up inside of a propane tank than needs to be. So that's my recommendation. And then never ever move or try to transport a home tank by yourself. There's many qualifications that you need to even have a propane tank on your vehicle, and placarding of vehicles and so forth, hazardous handling licenses and CDL licenses, things like that. So you definitely never want to try and transport that yourself on a home tank. But the smaller tanks for barbecue grills and camping, you can definitely transport them. Just like I said, make sure they're in an upright position and secured somehow.
Yeah.
Seen a lot of customers come in with the milk-style crates. They go to the store and purchase those, and the tanks seem to fit in there nicely. And they even make what's called a propane foot ring that you can purchase. There's a couple different options for you.
Right. Okay, now that makes sense. I mean, again, just common sense. You're transporting a tank of gas that could be explosive. So you wanna be careful to secure it, and like I said, not leave it in a hot car. I mean, I can imagine. What does happen if does it explode, or does the gas pressure build up and it just gets released from the tank?
Yeah, it's not going to explode, and typically the tanks are designed not to explode. That's why they're so safe. Usually when you hear of, say, a home exploding or something like that, it's a build-up of gas or propane inside of a home, and it's usually caused by something happening. Like I've heard where a home was stripped of its copper piping, and a homeowner came home. Somebody had actually stolen the copper piping out of the home, and left the gas exposed and open, and you turn on a light switch or something like that. That's where usually most of these accidents happen. So even a propane tank inside your car is designed to release the gas at a certain pressure level, and we typically call it pop-off valve. It's kind of a jargon, but it basically reaches a certain pressure, and then the gas is released from the propane tank. With the intention that most times the propane tank is going to be outside, so the gas can be released safely and dispersed in the air, and then the pressure equals out. Well, if it's inside of a car and there's electronics or static electricity buildup, something like that, then it can be a problem, because if you have the propane released and it really has to be a certain air ratio mixture with the propane in order for it to ignite. So that's why, sometimes if you've ever used a propane torch or something like that, and you're trying to light it and it's not lighting, it's because you don't have the proper air mixture in with that propane. You can have too much or too little propane, and it won't won't light, because you do need oxygen in there too to make it light. So they're very safe, and like I said, most times if there is a buildup of pressure inside of a propane tank, it's released safely, and usually it's outside. But with the new devices that they have installed in the propane tanks, as long as your filling station's using the scale to fill it, and using what's called the bleeder valve on the propane tank, and then we also fall back on the overfill protection device on the tank itself. So between those three things, you should never have an overfilled propane tank. And there's actually room in there for expansion. The tanks are only filled to approximately 80%, and then there's another 20% for expansion. So when you do put it into a hotter environment, it has that room to expand, because propane will expand and contract with the temperature.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Now, what about storing the tank? On these portable tanks, what do you recommend as far as places to put them?
There's only one rule with that, and that's keep it outside. Like you mentioned earlier, if you're doing a construction project, something like that, yes, you might have times where you have to have the propane tank inside the building or the structure. But if you're not using it, store it outside. That's the best advice I can give on that. You never want to store them in your basement or at home, just because that's actually a code. You're not supposed to store propane tanks inside of your any structure like that. So
what about in garages? Because I see occasionally I see people, especially in the wintertime, it seems they take their portable grill and they put it into the garage, and then they'll grill during the winter, either with the garage door open, or they'll roll the grill out onto the driveway. But you know that they're storing the tank with the grill, so during the wintertime anyway, I do see people with them in their garage.
Yeah, I would never recommend grilling inside of any structure, because the grills aren't designed to be inside, and you could have potential issues there, with asphyxiation or something, if you're using the product that's not designed to be used in an indoor area. So even though you're storing your grill inside, you should remove the propane tank each time you put it inside, and move the propane tank to an outside area and store it. It's not going to hurt it. You can always put a piece of plywood or something over top of the propane cylinder valve portion if you're worried about snow and ice buildup in the winter. That's easy to do. You can still set the tank outside. A small 20-pound propane cylinder is not going to be hurt by leaving it outside in the winter time or even the summertime. It's designed to be outside. So yeah, definitely don't recommend grilling inside, and move the propane grill outside and put the tank outside and connect it. I mean, my grill sits outside all winter, and I never usually have any issues with it. Once in a while, if I forget to cover it, you get some ice buildup on the valves, and you're either gonna have to wait till it melts, or hopefully it'll warm up a little bit that you can turn your valve again. But that's few and far between that happens. So yeah, definitely want to store the tank outside.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? And we'll probably do another video where we talk about grill safety, because I can think of a couple of scenarios where we can touch on different aspects of like grilling inside a garage. But that's a different topic. So last question I have for you is, with a house that is being heated with propane, so the whole house tanks. If a homeowner runs out of propane, what's the proper thing to do in that situation?
Really, you want to call your propane delivery company and have a professional come. You're gonna need propane, so they're gonna come and deliver it. They should be doing a leak test and getting all your appliances up and running for you. that's really what you want to do. And then call your propane company. They will instruct you on what to do. They'll know your system best. So I could run down a list of different things, but really the best thing is to call your propane company and have them instruct you on what to do, because some things are different, and I wouldn't want to say for you to do something without knowing what type of system you have. So that's important. They're going to ask you some questions, and like us, RFO, for instance, if that happens to a customer, we have 24-hour service, and they can call and get a live person to talk to, and they'll instruct them on what to do and what the next steps are. So that would be a definite thing. Is if it's important to call the professional that's handling your propane delivery.
Good, good. So, and speaking of RFO, why don't you give everybody the service area that you cover, your telephone number, your web address, ways that they can contact you in case they do want to order propane, and your physical address for people that need, portable tanks refilled.
Sure. We cover approximately a 50-mile radius of Lehighton, Pennsylvania, and we cover most of the 5 counties around there, which are Lehigh County, Northampton County, Schuylkill County, Monroe County, and Carbon County. We touch on a couple of the other counties, near there also. Cover approximately 82 zip codes. So if you are looking for a service, please give us a call. We'll let you know if you're in our service area, and if not, we can usually recommend somebody that's that we might know in the industry to help you out. We're located at 400 Interchange Road in Lehighton, PA, which is on Route 209, right along Route 209 next to Wentz's Auto Body. Our web address is www.rfohl.com, and we're available to be reached on the website. You can click on the Twitter and Facebook links, and we also have email, which is info@rfohl.com. Our phone number is 610-377-1098, and give us a call. We'd be happy to talk to you.
Okay, awesome. Well, Steve, thanks for taking time today to talk about propane safety. It's always a pleasure, and I will talk to you soon.
All right, thank you.
Okay, have a good one.